This video is for Patrik, Allvin, and Jim Rutherford, the two in charge of building this Vancouver Canucks hockey team. Last game's 5-2 loss to Calgary, in my opinion, was the straw that broke the camel's back. Not just because of the score, but because of how lifeless and unprepared this team looked against a supposedly tired opponent coming off of a back-to-back. Calgary's below us in the standings. There's no reason for Calgary to make the Vancouver Canucks look that shit. When did the Calgary Flames become the Florida Panthers? They dog-walked us last game. It was terrible. Even though the Canucks scored early and it felt like a promising game, Hronek ripped one bar down, it didn't matter. Calgary took over quickly, and after the first period, this game felt done and over with. There was zero urgency, zero compete. This game should have been a layup of a game if management genuinely considers this team a playoff team. Look, I don't want to sound negative because I love this team, and no matter what, I'm going to support, but I'm just a bit frustrated. I always try my best to stay positive. I want some accountability. This team clearly needs help on forward. I see it, the fans see it, and the players and hopefully management sees it as well. This wasn't just an ordinary loss. It was a giant flashing sign pointing to a front office that still hasn't committed to a real direction. Or maybe this is all just a smokescreen. I don't know. They say they don't want to rebuild. They have zero interest in rebuilding. But what are we doing? Why are we riding it out this early? I get it. I understand the injuries. I just want clarification, some direction. What are we doing? What's the plan? Now, when people throw around the word rebuild, to me, from the Canucks standpoint right now, I think that means trading Quinn Hughes. Because this team's kind of in a weird place after the JT Miller trade. They have young, promising pieces they've drafted. Tom Villander, Alexei Medvedev, Braden Coots, Jonathan Lekermecki. But they also have some good pieces on the main roster that they can still build around or move out to get more draft picks and more young prospects. But I do not think a complete rebuild for this team is needed. In my eyes, they are a few pieces off from being legitimate playoff team / contender. And as sad as it is, if they do consider a Quinn Hughes trade, it could easily land you a top forward to help your top six and a defenseman. I know some people online last night were talking about how they could go after Matvei Michkov from Philly, so Quinn Hughes could be reunited with Tocchet, but also getting draft picks or additional prospects and maybe a defenseman that's on the books. Before I continue to ramble and go down that rabbit hole, all I'm saying is this team doesn't need a complete rebuild. But if they do trade Hughes and keep the rest of their team, I think they could get a fat haul. Like I said, a top six forward, preferably a center, and probably still get a solid defenseman as well. Not a Quinn Hughes caliber D-man, but someone to slot into their top four. If you look at their defense without Quinn Hughes, it's the best it's been in years. Think of the Jim Benning years. Yes, our forwards were great. Our D-core was shit. We always had 4 or 5, 6, 7 defensemen. Now we have Filip Hronek, solid and underrated defenseman. Marcus Pettersson, having a bit of a rough stretch, still a great defensive defenseman. You've got Tom Villander in the wings. You've got Victor Mancini in the wings if they don't trade him. But this D-core is still in a great place. If they do trade Quinn Hughes and they keep Villander, they just need another defenseman to slot into that top four. Like I said, you're losing Quinn Hughes, but you don't need a complete rebuild. If you move Hughes, you're going to get a fat haul. I still would love for Quinn Hughes to stay a Canuck, but that's the whole point of this video. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way and thinks this way. I would just rather know sooner than later. What's the plan? Are we going all in with Hughes in this roster? I'm down. Or are we stepping back a little bit, hopefully get a haul to get this team back to where it needs to be? I'm also down. I'm a fan no matter what, but we just need some answers. During the offseason, Rutherford in an interview mentioned that Quinn Hughes might leave to play with his brothers. And honestly, I don't even think he meant for it to stir up any drama. I mean, that's also what you get for opening that can of worms. You don't say something like that unless there's actually a concern. But it feels like to me that this team's spinning their wheels waiting until he decides. Like, they're kind of like that Spider-Man meme, but they do need to add. If they want to be more than a wild card team this year, in my opinion, they have to add somebody, whether it's a Pavel Zacha or going all in on a Tage Thompson. I know they're not going to get Tage Thompson, but he's one of my favorite players, and it would be sick. The one thing I keep harping on is that when the Canucks traded JT Miller, they never replaced his production in the lineup. Look at the Calgary Flames when they had Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau, and they lost them both in that offseason. That's two 70 to 100 point players you take from your lineup, and then you still expect to be a playoff team next year. It's not going to work. You know, you can't put everything on Petey and Besser, Hughes, DeBrusque to, you know, carry this offense every night. You know, Kiefer Sherwood, same thing. They're great players, but they'd still need that 60 to 80 point player to replace at least some of JT Miller's production. I can see that. I know I'm not the only one that sees that. 11.6 needs a winger. His best season to date was that 100+ point season playing with Andrei Kuzmenko, and Bruce Boudreau was the coach. Barbecue Bruce. Bruce, there it is. If you're not going to get a center in this trade for Quinn Hughes or whoever it is, get somebody to play with Petey. Get an Andrei Svechnikov. Go get Matvei Michkov. If you're not going to get a top quality center, get a winger for Petey, because that would help as well. And then hopefully, if they hold on to their draft pick, they can get another forward. You know, I'm not trying to be the GM of this team, but I think about it a lot. And again, I'm sorry if I was repetitive in this video. I'm just frustrated. I'm not being a homer. I just want direction. I think a lot of us fans feel the same way. If you want to rebuild, rebuild. If you want to go for it, go for it. But doing nothing, that's not going to work. Am I wrong? Am I overreacting? Let me know in the comments, and hopefully this team gives us some answers soon, because bottom line is, changes need to happen.